PCN is brought to you in part by the following underwriters.
Welcome to another edition of PACTV Community News. Local stories from Duxbury, Kingston, Pembroke, Plymouth, and beyond.
This week, we visit a school lunch program in Plymouth, hear about the furniture at the Bradford House in Duxbury, and we meet the new marketing manager of Kingston Collection.
PCN stops into a Shakespeare theater show to learn what goes into costuming, and we meet some busy hikers who are passing through Pembroke.
We meet up with the Kingston Library director to learn about the needs of the building that will be proposed at town meeting, and Town Talk is also from Kingston.
It's a full show this week, and we begin with the Lieutenant Governor's visit to Plymouth Town Hall. Lieutenant Governor Governor Polito stopped by our quiet little seaside community here in Plymouth to discuss a possible financial compact between the state government and the town. We caught up with the state's second in command just after her meeting with our town's local officials.
Specifically today, Lieutenant Governor was speaking to us about a compact. What that community compact will do is make us partner with the state and see what some of the best practices are, allow us to pick 3 of those best practices, and then work with some of the state secretaries and some of their resources to make those things happen here.
You have a very strong leadership team here in Plymouth, a very strong legislative delegation, and they are ready to take Plymouth to the next level. Obviously, their planning with the 400th is really strong, and what we want to do at the state level is to say, we have resources, we have a cabinet of secretaries, we have technical assistants that can help this community achieve some of the better practices for better government here in the community. And hopefully they'll be able to identify some of the best practices that we can help with and soon be able to sign a compact. And that signing actually will place Plymouth in a more competitive position for some of the larger statewide grants that can be available for infrastructure improvements, for complete streets, maybe for the Main Street downtown area, all things that certainly can help with planning for the 400th here in Plymouth. I'm also going to be chairing the Seaport Council, which is a council that looks at coastal assets and projects that we can help with. For instance, the T-Wharf I know is an issue here in Plymouth, and perhaps there's a way to partner with the city of Plymouth to restore the T-Wharf, which is part of the economy here in Plymouth. That's an example of how the state can better partner with a community like Plymouth to help their overall economy.
When the average resident takes a look at what Plymouth has been able to do, they don't really understand the day-to-day operations. But when you say that you've partnered with the state to adopt a best practice, what that really means is you're able to get free assistance from another source. And that's something that community residents do like. In addition, I've never seen such a willingness that I've seen in Plymouth to help us to give us funding for certain projects. But they especially seem to like it when the funding the taxpayer is willing to come up with is matched by another source. And that's something that the state has encouraged. And I think that once we sign this compact, you're going to see that we are going to be even more eligible, better received when we apply for those grants. And if there's one thing these department heads can do, it's apply for grants in this town.
The Massachusetts Walking Tour, which hikes through 32 communities across the state on the Bay's Circuit trails, stops each night to hold a free outreach concert. PCN caught up with the group one night at the Pembroke Library.
About 6 years ago, we completed a hike from the Berkshire Mountains all the way clear across the state to Boston. It was a 161-mile trek. We did it in 17 days, and we performed free community concerts all along the way. And it was quite the adventure. We definitely learned a lot, and have since gotten much better at planning these things, especially distance. One of our first walks was almost 18 miles, which is pretty long for an unexperienced hiker. And now it's really grown into something, in that first hike we visited a town that we were their first concert in over 20 years. So we decided to continue this, with the idea that a lot of the smaller towns get kind of ignored and don't have a whole lot of cultural stuff going on, and some of them, they really could use a shot in the arm and an excuse to get everyone in the arts community together. So we started the second year, we organized hikes along the Mid-State Trail, and that was our first year using a trail system as a thoroughfare. And we saw that our hike also brought great exposure to their trail, and it was a great opportunity for the public to kind of see this as a valuable resource, something that they should want to save and preserve and, assist with maybe, by volunteering. So now we've completed through hikes on the Mid-State Trail, the New England National Scenic Trail, just the Massachusetts portion, the Wachusett Greenways, and this concert tonight in Pembroke is our last concert, and tomorrow we'll have completely through hike the entire Bay Circuit Trail, which runs from Newbury in west to Framingham and then all the way down here, closing out at Kingston Bay.
Since 2013, we've taken Mark Kiliansky and Amy Alvey as part of our Walking Tour troupe, in addition to myself and Rayanne Richards. Mark and Amy are both from Berkeley, graduated, and they've been on tour with us for the Massachusetts Walking Tour since 2013, and have come with us each year since then. So we're getting pretty tight playing together. We found out in 2011 that some of the trailways were looking to bring arts to their trailways and awareness of the trails being in these towns. A lot of times they go through neighborhoods and they weave in and out of communities and things like that. So in 2011 we started working with the Mid-State Trail, which is made up primarily of volunteers across the state, manage little sections of the trail. And then in 2013, the year we started walking with Mark and Amy, we did the New England Scenic Trail, which had been newly dedicated, and it was originally, portions of it were originally the Monadnock-Metacomet Trail, or M&M Trail, and it got redesignated as a national trail, which is good because they get more funding that way.
Our journey has been really, really amazing. We've had some great crowds and some great displays of local talent. It's something we love to do, and we hope to try to visit every single town in Massachusetts and, give the community an opportunity to see what kind of art is happening in their town, and also to raise awareness to any trail systems that they might not be aware of and encourage people to recreate. It's a pretty interesting journey. I would definitely, there's several spots that I would love to return to and hike again.
Read just what you sow. You're gonna read just.
The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's Child Nutrition Outreach Program at Project Bread works to promote the National School Breakfast and Summer Food Service programs. The programs help to ensure all students have access to healthy meals. Locally, it's at Hedge Elementary School in Plymouth, and PCN stopped in to see this wonderful program in action.
It's the Summer Food Service Program. It's a federally run program, and it's basically a link between the regular school year and fills in the gap of the summer months. The theory, along the same theory that kids remain hungry during the summer months as well as a school year. And you always wish you could do more, and it's just a lunch program, but it's a good, nutritious lunch, and a lot of the kids are very, very hungry, and it grows as time goes on, too. We start out very, very slow, just like everybody else. You get into your different routines in life, but by the middle of the summer, we're hitting 40, 45, 50 lunches here per day. So it's very, very important to keep the kids fed here in Plymouth. SFSP is underutilized here in Plymouth, especially here in this area. The economic status is at 60% free and reduced, and here it is. Probably we feed about 120 kids a day in this area, and here it is. We're going to serve kids that are 18 and under. Here, no questions asked, and we only get about 20, 40 kids per day. So that's a prime example. And then when I say 170, there's about 175 kids in the entire school in this school itself. So you think about the surrounding area, how many kids are 18 and under, and it's such a small percentile when you break it all down of how many kids could be taking advantage of the program and they're not.
Throughout this year, I have provided education to almost 1,400 kids at 6 out of the 8 elementary schools here. They've been learning about the importance of nutrition, learning about the food groups, learning about the best beverages, and also learning about the opportunities that they can continue to get a good, healthy lunch in the summertime as well as during the school year. I've also been doing lots of community events and providing information on various websites. So if kids don't get access to these types of food services that provide them with good nutrition, they're not getting the nutrients that they need. And kids are growing. Their brains are growing. Their legs are growing. Their skin is growing. It's just so very important that they get the nutrients. And that is our ultimate goal, is to make sure that we keep kids well nourished throughout the entire year.
So there are a number of ways that kids, teens, and families can learn about summer sites here in Plymouth and across Massachusetts. They can visit meals4kids.org. They can call Project Bread's Food Source Hotline at 800-645-8333, or they can text 617-863-MEAL. Plymouth also has an excellent resource for site locations at healthyplymouth.org.
You know, Kim, we do need to be reminded that there are kids every day who go through the day with not enough to eat, and it's wonderful that they have a place they can go and get a nutritious meal even in the summer.
That's right. Even in affluent communities, somebody loses a job and it happens, and then your financial situation changes, your kids are hungry.
Right.
And you can go down there and have at least a meal every day.
That's right.
And
bless them for doing this.
And teach them about nutrition.
Yep.
Who would have thought so many people would be interested in old furniture? Well, if that old furniture is from the Bradford House in Duxbury, there should be no surprise. Brock Job specializes in historical furniture, and he actually had a line of people waiting outside for his presentation. We were able to get a couple of words in with this historic furniture expert before his speaking engagement.
You're going to be standing up here the whole time when everybody's ready.
My field is early American furniture. I've spent 40 years studying early American furniture, particularly New England pieces. And for me, the Gershom Bradford House holds a very special place in my studies because of the fact that it has so many pieces of furniture that can be tied directly to Duxbury or this area. Tonight I will be sharing with the audience some of my favorite pieces of furniture at the Gershom Bradford House. I've selected about a dozen pieces to share with the group. They range from a cradle that was used by the family back in the 1700s to sets of chairs, a desk that was owned by a Revolutionary War patriot. It's just a wonderful mix of documented furniture. The house is a time capsule. The house has so many stories to share with the public. I think about the time capsule in Boston that was just put back in place. And the Gershom Bradford House offers those same kinds of stories. Stories about people who were involved in the Boston Tea Party. Stories about people who were ship captains that sailed across the globe. And the furniture represents those stories. So for me, the chance to share those stories with the public is something very, very special. We've moved several pieces of furniture here tonight so that at the end of the talk, I will share with them, up close and personal, what makes 4 chairs extraordinarily rare and so important to this community. I want them to have a newfound appreciation for what they have in their own backyard, a place that is very special, a place that's irreplaceable. And that's what I want them to take away. effort spent. There were other.
The Kingston Collection has a new marketing director at the helm. Michaela Shoemaker has the unusual combination of youth and experience on her side and anticipates big things for the mall in the future.
This is a good time for me to be coming in and joining Kingston Collection. We're really trying to make Kingston Collection a destination, so we do want to still have the retail and the shopping aspects, but we want to also include destinations where people want to go for activities, movies, bowling, car racing. We want it to be more than just a shopping center. We're hoping to bring in new restaurants. I definitely think that is part of the destination theme that we want to bring in. So we want people to be able to come here, get a bite to eat from any number of the restaurants that we're going to be bringing in, be able to sit outside, have a relaxing family meal or a date night, and then be able to go and see some of the, bowling and car racing and other things that we had mentioned we were going to be bringing in. And then, also do the shopping and do the retail experience as well. We do have some events coming up, and we're actually teaming with the Kingston Public Library. So we have a store area where they're going to be reading. We have the children's librarian who's going to be coming in, and she's going to be able to tailor each reading to the audience. So if there's a lot of really young kids, she's going to bring books for really young kids. She can bring books for older kids, and there's going to be a play group and some crafts. And then for some of our larger events this summer, we're having Mad Science, who's going to be coming in and doing a show about air and what air can do and kind of how cool air actually is for all the kids. And then there's going to be an activity after that. And then we have Big Ryan's Tall Tales, where he's going to come and use puppets and music to tell some tales. As we move towards more of a destination theme, we do want it to be for families as well. Obviously this area is a big travel destination spot, so we want mom and dad to be able to come with the kids and have stuff for mom and dad to do, like the restaurants, like the activities, and have there be stuff for the children and kids to do as well. I think right now, getting the public's perception of the mall as to what it was a few years ago and how much change has already occurred and how much change is occurring is kind of being a hurdle, but I can definitely see, with the stores that are opening, people are, coming back and they're really liking the way the mall is going.
Theater goers on the South Shore will get the chance this month to enjoy some Shakespeare at the Plymouth Center for Performing Arts. The Bay Colony Theater Company will present one of Shakespeare's better-known works with A Midsummer Night's Dream and one of his lesser-known productions with A Winter's Tale. The company will have their hands full by doing alternating performances each night. We met up with some of the key players during one of their rehearsals to hear more.
The Bay Colony Theater Company will be delivering Shakespeare to the Plymouth area this month in the form of A Winter's Tale and A Midsummer's Night Dream, doing alternating performances each night.
For the most part, this acting troupe has done a majority of its rehearsals right here at the Curtain Call Theater in Braintree, but the show will open in Plymouth and then run there for the month of July.
What we were working on tonight is the dances from the fourth act of The Winter's Tale. It's one of Shakespeare's late plays. It's a romance. And lots of stuff happens in the first three acts, and then in the fourth act, time changes, and it's a big springtime celebration.
Celebration aside, this production does have some heavy content as well. First-time director Monica Giordano has been able to find a way to keep it all together for herself and her cast.
There's no small emotion in this play, and so really making sure that I'm there for the actors and there for the people, so that they're not just left on stage feeling these giant emotions and then going off into the world, but that they can have these emotions in a safe place and then go off into the world still being okay has been the biggest concern for me, and so that's been the biggest challenge.
And then there are the costumes, which for this Shakespearean adaptation takes us to the early 20th century. In fact, there's a time gap of 16 years in which the first act takes place in 1912 and the second act in 1928.
When you think about it, it's between World War I and after World War I. So You get women who are still in corsets, like in Downton Abbey, and then women who have no corsets, who have cut their hair, who are wearing short skirts, and it's the Roaring 20s. So really fun, and they're, you know, they're sheep herders, so they're not exactly fashionable, but they're a lot more loose than in Act 1.
Luckily, men's styles haven't changed too much in the past century.
Men's costume is basically fossilized in the 20th century, which means they start out in suits. They're still wearing suits today. So just a little bit of variation on the colors, the textures, the hats, of course. Gentlemen don't wear hats, sadly, as much as they used to. So the hats, suspenders, the vests, of course. Vests always are old-fashioned looking. So the women's silhouette is what changes most drastically because, you know, you have women for the first time voting. So you have this whole new look to the women. The flapper look is very straight and boyish and yet colorful. So all the colors of when they're in Bohemia are warm and bright and floral, and all the colors when they're in Sicilia, when they start out, are cold and dark and wintry.
And for Stanton, the cast, which features several actors from Plymouth, has been easy to work with.
I love working with this company because the actors are so dedicated to Shakespeare and telling his story. And I love working with them one-on-one to develop the character that is going to come out in the costume.
In Braintree, I'm Brian Sullivan, PACTV Community News.
Looks like a great show. Now, Julie, I think you were a theater major, I believe.
I was a theater major, and I actually did Shakespeare. I did A Midsummer Night's Dream in college, and it's hard to be in a play. It's hard to play a character, but it's really hard to do Shakespeare. It's one of the hardest things because he's got a great sense of humor, and you have to get it out in your words, and people have to understand what you're saying. But it's a blast, and good for them.
Did you have the costumes and all?
Oh, yeah. Oh, the costuming is wonderful. But doing 2 plays alternately night after night is incredible. Good for them. Good for them. The Kingston Library building is in need of extensive repairs and upgrades. The Library Building Committee met up with PCN to tell us more about the needs, the funding process, and the future plans to be presented at town meeting.
They're hard to catch. Our Painted Lady Grandpa said.
Sure. We are in the middle of a process of looking at the existing building, looking at what its shortcomings are, and particularly looking at what the community needs the library to be. And we've spent quite a lot of time doing that over the last year, and actually longer than that. And we have taken all those results and put together a building program. And now we are at the stage of we're about to hire an architect to turn that building program into a design that would meet the needs. The process we're doing now, the planning process, is fully funded. It's funded through $18,000 from town meeting, $7,000 from the Kingston Public Library Foundation, and $50,000 in a grant from the state.
I think one of our primary concerns as we looked about meeting community needs is the lack of space that we've got right now. We have 1 meeting room, which means we can't do a lot of what we'd like. There's a lot of community requests for the meeting room, as well as our trying to schedule programming. And we'd like to do a lot more programming, but we can't do that with what we have right now. The other issue is the library's used a lot for tutoring in the community. It's a safe place where tutors can meet with children. They know they're in a chaperoned environment. But again, if we had more space, we'd be able to do more tutoring. You like a certain amount of privacy and quiet when that goes on. If there's story hour going on, it's hard for people that are not involved with story hour to come in and use it at the same time. So it would be great if there was a space that was dedicated to individual programming back there as well.
We are working under a grant, a planning and design grant from the Board of Library Commissioners, Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. We started the grant in July of this past year, and of 2014, and we have to complete it by April 2016. The grant we're working on is a planning grant. So at the end of this process in April 2016, what we'll have is a plan that we can present to the town. It will have schematic drawings, schematic design, and it will also have costs so that when we go to the town, we'll be able to tell them this is the best plan that this is the plan that represents the best solution, and we hope you'll allow us to go forward and pursue funding for turning this into an actual expanded or new building.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy.
This week's Town Talk takes us to Kingston Town Hall for a summer update.
Good day and welcome to the West Wing of the Kingston Town Hall again. I just want to say I hope you're enjoying your early part of the summer, and as we go through the summer, you enjoy the town also, and I'll talk a little bit about that. The Grays Beach, which is our beach in town, is open, and it's very active right now. You'll find a nice grassy area as well as a nice sandy area to bring your children and yourself to enjoy the water and the area. Another new thing down there is we have a new management of the shack, the snack shack as we call it, down there with a new chef, Jim Bertoni. Bertoni is taking over the lease, and he is serving up a lot of goodies, the hot dogs and hamburgers and other items, but probably the best slush this side of Boston. You'll love it down there. It's quiet, it's a nice place to bring the family, and there'll be some events that you'll see, and we'll let you know what those are as the summer goes on. If you go down there, you need a parking sticker if you're going to bring a car, and the parking sticker fee, again, probably the best value in the area is $15 for residents. For non-residents, it's a $50 fee, and they're sold right here in the Board of Selectmen's office on the second floor. You can buy a parking sticker from 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock Monday through Friday. So if you plan on going down there, you want to make sure you have a sticker so you don't get that nice orange little tag on your car by our police department. So the other thing I want to mention in terms of the summer and using Kingston's facilities is there's plenty of walking trails throughout Kingston. We have a plethora of open space, and you go on our website, kingstonmass.org, and click on the Conservation Commission. Go to, you'll see on the bottom of that there's a trail maps, and it's loaded with information. You'll have fun, again, get the family out, get some activity, and enjoy your town.
Thanks for watching this week's show. We are on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also find repeat dates and links on PACTV's website.
If you have an idea for a story, please email it to kim@pactv.org. We'll see you next week for more community stories. Enjoy the week.